All right, welcome to the Tide Simulator Lab info video here as I'm going to walk you through and kind of show you what to do here in the lab. The directions are there, but I know sometimes online simulators can be a little bit confusing in what it is that I'm asking for. So this lab will help you with that. The last part of this video is going to be going through and reviewing how to do a graph. So if you're listening to this video because you've already completed most of part 2 and you just are looking for the refresher on the graph, if you fast forward through the video, you'll see a title slide that'll come up that'll say review of how to graph, and then that's where I'm starting to talk about the graphing part. Okay, but let's go ahead and go through the lab. So go ahead and click on the dot on the the link if you haven't done so, and then you'll notice that part 1 is just the background information. So we've done a little bit of notes already. If you haven't done the notes yet, you might want to do a little bit of that before you do the lab to understand it a little bit better, especially when you get to the very last part with the questions that I'm asking for you to make connections with what you did with the lab. You're going to need a little bit of content knowledge, and so that's where going through and reading this helps. Okay, the procedure starts here. You don't even have to worry about the procedure, right? Because I have that all put out for you. So you're only looking at from there, oops, not even the objectives. So right here, you have just this little bit to read. And you might say, well, that looks like a lot, but it's a super thin column, guys. And so like if that was normal size, it's probably 2 paragraphs, not even probably a full textbook page. So go make sure you spend time to read through that. All right, part 2 then is going through, and we're going to collect some data. So you select the moon phase on the moon by clicking one of the 4 circles around the Earth. And here's right away, this is where people make mistakes because they're like, wait, what's going on? It's not working. Nothing's happening. It's broken. No. First step is you got to pick one of the moon phases, okay? I'm going to go in order of the moon phases. I just think that makes sense. You don't have to, but that's how my data table's arranged. So I click that. Okay. Notice when the selected phase occurs. So if you take a look here, this is happening on April 7th. It says NM for new moon. Look at the position here. You guys should recognize its position. That is the new moon phase in that position there. Observe the water level. Okay, this is where the simulator automatically starts. Then you click the hourglass to begin the day's tide cycle. You're going to see the water rise or fall for the next 6 hours of the tide cycle. And then step number 4 here, read the measurement, record it by clicking the arrows on the scroll through of the measurements. So let's do that real quick. So I'm going to hit the hourglass. Ooh, it sounds like the beach. Oh, that's really nice. Okay. All right. So take a look where we're at. This is low tide. This box here is highlighted, so that's the one that I'm filling in on foot. So it won't even let you do the other ones, which is good. Okay, so I'm going right here. Now notice, here's 0.0. So this is negative 0.3. So I got to go down here. Oop, I already passed it up. Negative 0.3. All right, now it's not going to let me do anything else yet until I have all 4 of these done. So I'm going to keep going, right? Okay. Now, you can, if you want to, record that into the chart, but I wouldn't yet. It's better to wait until you're all done because you're going to put only the highest tide into your data table and the lowest tide into your data table. So you're getting 2 low tides and 2 high tides recorded here, but you're not entering in all of that data. You're only entering in the highest tide and the lowest tide. All right, so here we are. This is still new moon, right? It's still the same day. It's just 6 hours later. And look where our tide, look where the water's up to, 1.7. So we go to 1.7. Right. Oh, it's so relaxing to hear this sound. Boom. Okay. Negative again, negative 0.1. So wait. Oh, man. 2.0. Okay, now at this point I can check and listen.
Congratulations! You have correctly identified the tide measurements for this phase of the moon.
Okay, so that means I'm correct. So now, like it says in the procedure, I'm putting into my data chart the high tide, the highest of the high tides, and the lowest of the low tides. So when I look, my highest high tide is 2, my lowest low tide is negative 0.3. So new moon, highest was 2.0, lowest was negative 0.3. Okay, that's what it says here, step 6. In the data table, record the highest tide and the lowest tide for the day. Okay, repeat this entire procedure for all the moon phases. So then you would go back and you would click the next one. You hit the hourglass. You do the same thing over and over. You do that for all 4 of the main phases, and you fill out this chart. Then you insert a graph. I'm going to explain how to do the graphs in case you need a refresher on that at the end of the video, like I said. After your graph's inserted there, you now select a new location. They have a couple different locations. I don't care which one you pick. You're only doing one other one, so it doesn't matter to me. Just make sure. I already have Snug Harbor because that's where you start. Typed into your data table here. Make sure you type it in wherever your location is here. You do the same exact thing that you just did, and then you put in your graph here. Then there are 6 conclusion questions. Okay, just be careful if I ask you to use your data from your graphs. Make sure you're doing that in your explanation for whatever your answer is. Remember, your data is your evidence that support your answer, so make sure that's in there. Okay. All right. So if you need help with the graph, make sure you stay on here because that's where we're going to go next. So for this review of making a graph out of Google Sheets, I am going to assume that you've already collected data here. Okay, now this data is not the actual data, so don't use this for yours. I just kind of put some numbers in here. Okay, the whole point of this is to show how to do the graphing, not to give you the answers for the lab. So remember, for graphing, we go ahead. You guys hear Owen crying? All right, let me keep going here, see what we can finish it. So I might have to stop and come back. All right, so you already have a data table. This data table just needs to go into Google Sheets. So I actually have it already set up for you. Okay, the only thing that you have to be careful of is remember in Google Sheets that it only knows how to graph when there are words in a box or numbers in a box, not both. Words or letters and numbers don't work. So like if I would put 2m for 2 meters here, it wouldn't know how to graph it. So notice I don't have any labels. I can put those labels in the graph later. So let me just kind of copy. Okay, and then I need to be into a new doc. Here, sorry, I should have had it open. Give me 1 second. Okay. And then I'm just going to go ahead and paste it in. All right, so then that's the first step, is having your data table in here. Okay. This A column is going to be your x-axis, so it's going to have the time, new moon, first moon, full moon, third quarter. Okay. And then on the y-axis is going to be the depths. Okay. So you have to remember to highlight. So click and drag to highlight your data table. Otherwise, it doesn't know what to read to be able to graph or to make a chart. You can either insert chart, or on the bar here is the shortcut. When you click it like I just did, give it a second. Okay. Oh, look at that. Mine already did a column chart for me. And this probably, I think, does a great job of showing what's happening, right? It shows blue is the high tide, red is the low tide. It gives me new moon, first quarter, full moon, third quarter. It even gives me the title, Snug Harbor, and then here are the depths. So this looks great, okay? So it's pretty much set for me. if it didn't give you this column chart. Okay, where do you find that? It's over here in the chart editor. Column chart. Okay, they gave you some suggested ones. If you wanted something else, like, I don't know, if you wanted to do it this way. Okay, I guess you could do it that way. I guess that would make sense too. It's just sideways. I don't know if any of these other ones really make sense. So I think that's the most conclusive in terms of being able to read it and understand what's happening. I'm going to change the title because high and low tide doesn't say anything. So I'm going to change the title here. High and low tide at Snug Harbor. And then the other important thing is I don't have any labels here. So we need some labels. Okay? So the way to do that is over in the chart editor again. Okay, so we were just in the setup column here. See how setup is highlighted in green? I have to go to customize. Now, if I just double click on this axis, it's going to take me here. Okay, so now I'm at the vertical axis to set things up, but it's not giving me any place to type in the title. And that's because we're not in the right place. It doesn't, there we go. It doesn't take you right to where you need to go. Okay? It took us down here to this vertical axis, which is fine, but that's not what we need. We need the vertical axis title. So again, it's under customize, charts, axis titles. Click that for the drop down. For here, then there's another drop down, and I need vertical axis title. And then right here, I can just put depth in meters. And there you see it showing up here on the side. I have a good title. I have two labels here. I know where I'm at. I have the time. And I have the data being displayed. This is a great graph. It's good to go. Two ways then that you can get it into your doc. Up here you have the 3-button menu that you can go through. You can either download the chart to save it and then insert it, or copy the chart, or you can just do the shortcut of Command-C or Control-C. So I copy the chart. I go back to here. Part 3, I put in my cursor, I paste it, and then it asks me, do you want to link it to the spreadsheet or paste unlink? Okay, I think it's better to paste it unlinked. When it's pasted unlinked, that means it doesn't matter what happens to your Google Sheet, your chart's going to stay the same. If you link it to your spreadsheet and you delete the stuff that you just made because you're going to use that same spreadsheet for the second location, it's going to erase your entire graph. So I think it's always better to paste it unlinked so it just stays the same. All right. Now, in comparison to the rest of this lab, I think this is a little obnoxious of how big this is. So I'm going to scoot it down here a little bit so it's not quite as big. And there we go. Inserted graph over this material. Okay? All right, if you have any questions on that, remember, office hours 1 to 2 o'clock, Monday through Thursday. And then, or you can email me. But if it's a question about how to make the graph, sometimes it's easier to do it on office hours so that I can present my screen and walk you through it. But this video should help you a bunch. All right, good luck. Talk to you later.